Good morning, good afternoon. If it's sometime in the day in the afternoon for you, we got international crowds. It's the Sick of This show, and today we're talking about privatizing the federal government. And I'm Nick Paro, your host of Sick of This Shit Publications. I'm bringing on my friend and colleague, host of the Firebrand Project and creator, doing incredible work, Shane Urich,
Thank you, sir.
and a returning friend of mine, Wajahat Ali of the Left Hook. Um, Incredible guest we've had last time. We've talked about some really good stuff. You like to amp me up a little bit. I like to amp you up a little bit. It's a morning time for everyone, and we want to get things going. And so, Waj, I wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself to all of our audience again, for the three of us, and let everyone know who you are real quick, before we dive into it, because I want to talk about some of the shit that's been going on with federalizing or privatizing the government and the attempts to normalize efforts in that, and how dangerous it's getting. So, good morning, Wash.
Hey, good morning. Hey, Shane
Good
and
morning.
Nick, and all the wonderful people who follow Nick and Shane in the show. And also, I am now the biggest fan of Shane's mom because I just found out she has exquisite taste and follows the Left Hook. The Left Hook is my Substack. It's part of the, I think you could call it, progressive anti-fascist community. Started over a year ago. I'm a terrible capitalist. I keep everything for free because I want people to be informed. And I write there and I talk to intelligent, passionate people like Nick and others who are trying their best to fight back against an authoritarian regime and the oligarchy, and who don't mince words, because I don't believe you can both sides of genocide or fascism. But that's just me, and I'm silly.
You know, I think here you find that we agree that normalizing fascism sucks, and that genocide, and as Qasim Rashid, who we've talked to about this
It's
before, me
great.
and Lawrence Winterman, is a Holocaust.
Yeah.
And the actions would fit the legal definition of a Holocaust that's going on in Gaza. Because I don't know what else happens when you drop like a 40,000 pound bomb on somebody and everybody nearby gets incinerated by fire after you've concentrated them into little groups and areas that you told them were safe and they aren't safe. I would consider that a Holocaust at this
I
point.
mean, yeah, I mean, I cover Gaza probably 3 times a week. Like since the beginning of the ceasefire, I have touched in on the genocide, the Holocaust in Gaza 3 times a week during my daily show. It's something that is incredibly important. Why? Because there's so much shit all tied up in Gaza in terms of American interests. You want to talk about like privatizing the federal government? Let's talk about how they've privatized aid into Gaza through evangelical Christian organizations. Like, what is the Red Crescent? And then before that, you had
Mm.
other private interests, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Dude, that is a cesspool in and of itself. Like, you want to talk about that? They have privatized the aid into Gaza. They are using forward operating bases for the IDF to hand out food. It's just absolutely nuts. And they're the government, like Gaza is so much more than just a genocide. It is a US sanctioned money laundering and AI training, private military organizations, your Blackwater, all of it. It's awful. And it is not just like America is so complicit. It's beyond just funding.
Yeah.
It's just extorting and already completely just taking
Broken
advantage of
system.
population. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, can I say something real quick, Nick?
Yeah.
It's interesting that Shane is much younger than me, and when we were marching, when I was a UC Berkeley student, it was 2001. I was about to turn 21. I was the student board of the Muslim Student Association. And my dark joke is that if Muslims knew that 9/11 was about to happen, I would have never joined the Muslim Student Association. I would have joined the Indian Student Association and learned how to bhangra and code. But F my life, I joined the Muslim Student Association right before the two towers fell and there were 19 foreign hijackers. Not Zoran Mamdani. not
Nope.
Ilhan Omar. 19 foreign hijackers, 15 of them from Saudi Arabia. That doesn't stop these people from doing business with Saudi Arabia or Qatar or UAE, the Witkoffs and the Kushners and Donald Trump. And, at the same time, there was a second intifada and we were marching. And the same thing, same story now was the same story then. Occupation, apartheid, the complicity of not just the United States government, but the entire United States military industrial complex with Israel. Israel training the NYPD, Israel training ICE, right? Israeli surveillance, because fascists flock together. That's what people forget. Oh, that's how you crack down on Kashmiris, India. Interesting. Well, look at what we do in the West Bank. Oh, China, that's interesting what you do to the Uyghurs. Let's do this to the civilian population in America, right? And so all I want to say is, when we used to march and talk about this, it didn't get that much airtime. They used to easily dismiss us as radicals and Hamas and blah, blah, blah. And with Shane, you're now witnessing what I call the Gaza generation, where they saw genocide streamed live to their phones. And it doesn't matter about your ethnicity. It doesn't even matter about your political affiliation anymore now. Like, if you even look at MAGA, it's like MAGA talking point, MAGA talking point, MAGA talking point, Israel, Palestine, they sound like Shane. You're like, what? And so now it's a situation globally where people's eyes, I think, are wide open. And now everyone's asking why is the establishment, both Republican and Democrat, literally supporting this country which just killed 100 people in the West Bank? Sorry for my rant.
No, it's okay.
This is great.
I'm going to take something you just said because it's something that you can pivot from that no one is talking about. And you mentioned the UAE, so I'm going to jump on that. Al-Fashir just fell in Sudan to the Rapid Support Forces, which is a Islamist extremist organization in South Sudan that is persecuting non-Muslim groups in Sudan. There has been an ongoing civil war in Sudan for 2 years. This city just fell. It was the last stronghold in this region. They are funded by the UAE, who Donald Trump loves. We love the UAE. They are known to fund these Islamist organizations. Well, this city just fell. There's already reports coming out of Al-Fashir and the surrounding villages. These guys are literally, if you think IDF is bad, these guys are prolific for raping infants and mass rape, massacres. Over 40,000 have been killed. These guys just took the city. And the slaughter, there's 240,000 people that were stuck in this city. And they are already facing famine. This is Gaza level stuff, but worse, to be honest with you, because the IDF isn't running in there and raping everybody. Like, I'm sure they are raping people, but I mean, it's like they will grab you on the street. They will take your child out of your hands. There's people reporting as they're running, they run into these barricades. They separate the men. If they refuse to join as fighters, they execute them in front of their families and then release. This is happening right now in the last 2 days. Crickets. And the UAE is giving them money. And guess what America is doing? We have very cordial relations. These are the things where it's like, not only are these things happening in Gaza, but you have, for the sake of diplomatic ties or whatever, crypto arrangements, we're not going to call them out for funding this. And I mean, it's in Africa, which already puts them on a leg down because the white world doesn't like to talk about the colonialist fuck up that destroyed an entire continent by grouping together all of these ethnic groups that have a long history of ethnic tension and violence into these countries under the same nationality, and then expecting everything to just be freaking chipper. And I mentioned this yesterday, but I want to mention this here because there's a lot more people in this chat, and it's something that's ongoing right now that needs attention because it is truly horrific. It is truly, truly horrific, and it needs to be spoken about. So sorry to jump on there, but you kind of gave me a segue.
No, this is great too. And it also gives us a moment to talk about something we did last night on Banner and Backbone with the big panel. We were talking with Zev Shalev, Dean Blundell, and the guys over at Centered America. You would really like them, Waj. They do a lot of grassroots organization. They're a 501c4 company or a nonprofit organization that is doing grassroots organizing and pro-democracy. What is considered real middle, like not this fake bullshit right-leaning middle that we've been told in the Overton window is the middle of everything, but like a real middle where we value things like we're seeing everybody wants food and housing and support, and like SNAP is about to be fucking ripped away, not
Yep.
because we don't have the money, but because we just don't want to give the money.
That's right.
And you mentioned something though, and it's something that Zev Shalev had a post on, was fundamental issues that can unify us in a sustained protest and like create real coalitions. Is people are fucking hungry. People are also super mad about the genocide in Israel and what the fuck is going on. And I think that's a unifying issue. It's not anti-Semitic, and I'm going to say this as a Jewish guy. It's not anti-Semitic to call out Israel for fucking genocide. It's just humane. Like, it's just humane to say they're causing a genocide. We need to fucking stop.
Yeah, I need to make a quick correction really quick because I misspoke. And thank you in the chat for correcting that. They are prosecuting Islam. So they are prosecuting the Islamist groups within Sudan. So it's an important distinction, and I did make that mistake. Transparency is absolutely so important when we're talking about these things. So just to clarify, the RSF is prosecuting the Muslim populations in Sudan. Those are the people that are being massacred. So thank you so much in the chat for catching that. Thank you guys.
And also that's why we have smart followers, but we also, I missed it also. But Sudan, real quick, you're absolutely right, Shane. What's happening in Sudan, it just never gets attention because Africa. Also, what doesn't get attention is what's happening to Uyghurs. Also, what doesn't get attention
I know,
is the Rohingya. Kashmir, the crackdown, the Hindu fascism and Hindu supremacist leadership of Narendra Modi. But hey, business is good with India. Well, it used to be good until these Indian Americans realized that MAGA doesn't like them because leopards eat brown faces. But I digress. Nick, to your point, I think I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think there's two major litmus tests, especially for Democrats moving forward. A Democratic leadership, especially if there's a Democrat emerging who wants to be the face of the party for a national level. And these two litmus tests that they can no longer escape. And I feel very strongly about this. And I think all the data, I know all the data backs it up. And you're going to see it in real time. Number one, are you pro-oligarchy or anti-oligarchy? If you are still sucking at the corporate teat, if you're still sucking at the teat of the oligarchy, I do not think you can be a viable messenger for reform. I think the people will sniff it out, and sure, they might support you. You might, be able to be governor, senator, but president, I don't think so. The second litmus test, to your point, is Israel-Palestine. They still think that they could suck at the teat of Israel and Palestine and the war machine and AIPAC. I've been saying it for a year, and you all know how the election went down. And I wrote articles saying, yes, Joe Biden is complicit in this genocide. Still vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump because I believe in the lesser of two evils. And then when it was Kamala Harris, I said, huge mistake. She's complicit. They're going to alienate Democratic voters. But still, if you have a choice, vote for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. Now you saw the YouGov poll that came out less than a year ago. The main reason why Democrats stayed at home was due to Gaza. It wasn't the only reason, it was the main reason. And now you fast forward and you see radicalization happening even within Republicans, right? You see a shift from Massey, MTG, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson calling this a genocide. So I think, and if you've seen the proof in the pudding, in the last 2 months, 3 of the smoothest talkers of the Democratic Party, who always have an answer for everything, and I use smooth as a compliment, they got tripped up on Israel and Palestine. The 3 are Pete Buttigieg, remember that? Just couldn't malfunction. Cory Booker, because Jen Welsh, and this is why we need white allies. I really mean it. Jen Welsh said all the stuff that I could say, but she's a white woman. So she says it, he can't escape, right? Cory Booker, I don't know if you saw Nick and Shane, he just she grilled him. She goes, why? Why do you support this? He didn't have an answer. And the third person was Gavin Newsom. When Van Lathan asked him, and I'm sure you saw the clip where Gavin Newsom, instead of answering, he goes, it's interesting. It's interesting that you asked that. It's interesting that you asked about AIPAC. And now you've seen a friggin' centrist Seth Moulton 2 weeks ago saying, I'm not going to take AIPAC money. Mallory McMorrow, who's running in the Democratic primary to be senator of Michigan, she said, no, I'm not attached to AIPAC. you have finally seen a shift in the Democratic Party where they realize supporting a war criminal is toxic. But as I say this, Nick and Shane, the reality is the Democratic leadership is Senator Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. And when Senator Schumer was asked 2 days ago, do you support Zoran Mamdani, the guy who won the primary, who most likely will be the mayor of New York? He ran away. And in the summer, that photo that I'm sure you've seen, Nick, of those 9, I think, Democratic senators who took a smiling photo with Benjamin Netanyahu, the war criminal who voted, who came in the summer, who was right there. It was Schumer. It was Booker. It was Schiff. It was Coons. And it was a few other people. And that's the problem that we have.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about accountability yesterday, right, Nick? Like, you know, we spent a lot of time talking about how if we are going to change the dynamic of the party, if we're going to move forward, we, you know, with that main guy who I keep forgetting his name, but
Graham Plattner with the Totenkopf
he refuses to take accountability for the fact that he got a death heads tattoo. The literal, like the symbolism being these were the guys who were shooting people and throwing bodies into open pits in Ukraine and then shooting into those pits to kill the people they missed. And this is a U.S. Marine, and he's saying, yeah, we're just Marines fucking around. One, what the hell? Like, these are our war fighters out in the world representing, supposedly defending democracy, and they're idolizing the stormtroopers, the Einsatzgruppen, who were responsible for just a massive genocide. They spent millions of bullets on innocent people, unloading into piles of bodies. Like, and he refuses to take any accountability for the fact that he put that on his body while in service of our country. Talk about shameful. You know, like Schumer won't take accountability for the fact that he has continued to support a genocide. Your point, he pulls a Mike Johnson and he runs away. I mean, like, this is just absolutely crazy. Where is the accountability?
Yeah, and that's a huge point I want to just touch on before we get into some of the actual like funding privatizations, because I got some questions, Watch, because I know you're closer to DC and the White House than I am. And I want to get your opinion on the little penis palace that is being built right now, whilst they tear down the White House without any approvals and using private funds.
Did you just say penis palace? I just want to
the little penis palace.
It's with a bunker.
Short,
what people always forget short is they're building a bunker. Also, people always forget that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but and it's probably also going to have a data center in it too. Shane was talking about that, about probably a centralized AI data center underneath. But it's the little penis palace, or little PP for short, and because it's a giant dick that he's putting on and replacing the White House with. But my question, I want to get your thoughts on it, because I've not asked. I've really, it's been a lot of white dudes who I've asked this question to, and I want to get a more diverse opinion on this. It was around the Graham Plattner tattoo. I am really upset about it. I also agree. I think that it's wrong and he should pull out of the primaries. And I also think that's the importance of primaries, is we find shit like this ahead of time so that we don't have to deal with a white supremacist or possible Nazi in the Democratic Party. Is he went on Jen Psaki yesterday, I think, for an interview, or 2 days ago, and he answered a question. He answered about it, but he deflected on saying that he even knew what the meaning of the tattoo was. And like Shane said, he's threw the entire Marine Corps under the bus as people. He threw the whole Marine Corps as stupid and unaccountable because they didn't have a woman around to tell them that they were wrong. They were just young men who didn't have a woman around to tell them. One, that's misogynistic as fuck, patriarchal as fuck. Two, you just insulted the entire Marine Corps and told us that they were stupid. So I want to get your thoughts on that, and how you feel about seeing a Totenkopf tattoo on Graham Plattner and the white leniency that we have towards him. Whereas, and I've used this analogy, is, and I hate doing it, but if Zoran Mamdani had a tattoo for an ISIS group on him, we would have run him out of the fucking country. Like that's what would have happened in the party. They barely want to fucking endorse him now, but we're willing to give a death head tattoo a pass. What
No,
are your
I
thoughts on
I appreciate you asking that question. I appreciate your framing because, and I'm gonna piss off pretty much everyone now.
that?
My take on it is this: stepping back, why did this guy get so much traction? Why is it still competitive with all the stuff that's come out about, you know, the comments he's made, the misogynist comments, the racist comments on Reddit, the Nazi tattoo that he said he doesn't knew was associated with Nazis, and now he's sitting there in a live interview, taking off his shirt, showing off the covered tattoo, which is totally normal in American politics when Donald Trump was president. It's because of his anti-oligarchy message. He is an outsider who is anti-establishment, who took on the oligarchy and the genocide, right? That's why Mainers were like, oh, he's outsider, he's different, he's unorthodox, fine. Big picture. Now, with that being said, like my take is your take. This is why we have primaries, where you discover stuff like this. And I don't care if it's the Republicans doing it. Most likely it's Mills, the Democratic establishment, that is finding this stuff out. But remember, they didn't find anything about George Santos. It was all there. And then you see people who are like, well, vote blue no matter who. And then you get people like Fetterman and Sinema. And what I say is we should have standards. And for the rest of us, when you see a Graham Plattner, like a white bro dude, with that type of a Nazi skull, can't you find anyone in Maine who has his platform, which is really resonating with people, but without the misogynist and racist Reddit comments, and without the friggin' Totenkopf skull, right? I'm sure there has to be one. Now you say, okay, Mainers, it's up to you. You have him and Mills, and right now it's still competitive. So if Maine decides to have him represent the Democratic Party, then all I can say is, Plattner, God is the witness. I hope you had a change of heart. I hope you're a changed man. But this is where I piss off everyone else. There is a problem, Nick and Shane, as a person of color. When I see some, I want to be very careful. Not all, not most, not many. Some progressive whites, some liberal whites. One of the blind spots, and it was also Bernie's blind spot for a long time, they always say, talk about class, class, class. That's how you unite people, right? Go against the oligarchy, message affordability. That's why Plattner surged. That's why Mamdani surging. Sure. Okay. They're always missing something. It's the race class narrative. They're always missing the angle of white supremacy. And Bernie stumbled in the past on this. I've seen a lot of other of these guys who are friends of mine who I like and respect. They're like, don't talk about race. Don't talk about the woke. It's all divisive identity politics. And you cannot have reform, and you cannot have a coalition, Nick and Shane, without confronting both class and the sin of capitalism, the unfettered capitalism, and white supremacy. Unfettered capitalism and white supremacy are the two enduring sins of America. And the person who was able to successfully do the race class narrative was Barack Obama. You know why? He could not escape racism because he's a black man. The other person who cannot escape racism and Islamophobia is Zoran Mamdani. And that's when you combine the race class narrative, you lift everyone up, which is why I think there's been a blind spot in some, notice I said some, liberals and progressives, the white bros, who are like, just talk about the class, man. Just talk about the class. Forget about the woke and forget about the identity politics and forget about all the DEI stuff. I'm like, you can't. That's my take.
I'm
awesome.
I'm coming in because you just said something really important. And in regards to the race, it's very true. But like, we even need to like zoom out a little bit. And I always say we have to ask, like, there's the reason and there's the why, right? Like, what is the why for this like perpetual systemic racism? It can directly be tied to our financial system. Why are these people struggling so much? It's because our capitalist system has evolved in tandem to continue the oppression from slavery that has evolved over time, to whether it was sharecropping to Jim Crow. And when none of those things were acceptable, it evolved into creating an economic system where these communities are forced into poverty, which forces them to have higher crime rates, which forces these circumstances. Like you can look at these populations in Europe. You have a huge issue in Sweden right now, where they brought in all of these people from Syria, I believe, because you had the Syrian refugee crisis. These communities, what you have happening, and you have this huge xenophobic trend sweeping Europe right now. You're seeing these Nazi socialist parties getting larger and larger positions in the parliament. Why?
Yep.
Because you see a rating crime with poverty. That has nothing to do with race. Okay, it has nothing to do with race. It's desperation leads to crime. Poverty leads to desperation. Cause and effect. It's very simple. So when you can point to a certain ethnicity or a color of skin and say these people are criminals, it's not because they're criminals. It's because of their economic situation. It's because you have this huge rise in crime in Sweden because they are poor. The unemployment rate is high and no one hires them. And so now they can make more money doing hits, you have teenagers doing like hits for 10,000 krone or whatever, because they can make more money there than they would make in a year. They've been forced in this situation by the system that's constantly evolved. And until we address the systemic financial bubble that's been put around these communities, it's going to continue to enable that. And like you said, that's if they ignore the race thing to address that, you have to include the race in the economic conversation, because we constantly address the effect while we ignore the cause. And that's one of our biggest problems in America. And to your point, the effect, even in that case, is minimized by these people.
Well, it's Shane. Shane and Nick, real quick, if I can respond to Shane. You're seeing in real time, folks. Economic anxiety. It's economic anxiety that brought Trump voters to Trump. It's a debunked zombie narrative. It is not the main reason. Every study shows that it was cultural anxiety. And economic anxiety was, if you will, the whitewashed term that corporate media gave to give cover to the racism that drives Donald Trump. And what Donald Trump did is exactly what Shane said. He goes, look, all these problems. It's because of the Mexicans. It's because of the immigrants. It's because of the Muslims. It's because of them. That's exactly what Hitler did. The economic crisis of Germany following World War I and during the Depression. Oh, look, it's them, it's they, it's the Jews. Germany could have been great again, but they, them, the French and the Allied powers, look how they destroyed us. If only, and then you give them a very simplistic narrative. So it's what I'm saying is racism is inescapable because Donald Trump was able to go to power by descending on the they weren't golden, bronze staircase. And what did he say? He blamed the Mexicans, rapists and criminals, right? So it's fused. And you see it, especially when people of color with Mamdani, inescapable. Mamdani has your class narrative, folks. Affordability, that's his class narrative. For the past week, what have we seen? Some of the most egregious Islamophobia that I've witnessed in the past 2 decades. Like just shameless. They literally, Nick and Shane, they have nothing left. So now they're just saying he's a terrorist. And people don't even interrogate it. Like, why is he a terrorist? Because he's Muslim and he's pro-Palestinian, so he's Hamas. It doesn't even make sense. So this is why I know I'm harping on this, but I really want to stress it. The class argument is, of course, the uniting argument. It's us versus them, the 1% versus 99%. They're dividing and conquering. White worker, black worker, brown worker. You have more in common than with each other than do with Rupert Murdoch. But since the Southern strategy, what has the Republican conservative base done? They realized, we can win over the Southern Democrats to our side by playing on race. So that's why, Nick, I feel very strongly, and those progressives still have major blind spots. And then I'll also say this point, 80% of people who are incarcerated in the United States of America, we incarcerate more people than any other country on earth. We have a population of 340 million. India has a population of about 1.1 billion. China has 1.2 billion. We incarcerate more people than any country on earth. 80% of the people who right now are incarcerated are poor.
Yeah, we've criminalized poorness and homelessness in this country while we have enabled unrelenting corruption and bribery for the richest, which is actually what brings us, which is a great way to segue back into where we started, is some of the funding and privatization and how we've shut down the fucking government. Not we, the Republicans in Congress have shut down the US government
Yep.
on purpose to defund every program that they can possible because their budget didn't destroy enough. So they're destroying all the programs and then letting private citizens make major donations or bribes or whatever we want to. It's all corruption. They're laundering
Bribes.
money in. Is the Pentagon announced this week or last, I think it was this week, that they accepted $130 million from Timothy Mellon, who is also associated with the Epstein files. Because, you know, every fucking billionaire and rich person and robber baron is somehow associated with Epstein because it's all fucking gross and they're all one thing. Is they're funding the military privately for, like, it was $100 basically per service member for a day. It didn't add up to much, but it's the first step in privatizing the military and turning it into mercenary force. I want to get your thoughts on that, and then also your thoughts on the Little Penis Palace and the private funds that are being used to destroy the White House without any permission, and how we need to hold that accountable.
I think it's all tied together. What you're seeing is a grift. And I've been using this impression a lot recently, but I can't help it because it's so pure. It's that scene from Daniel Day-Lewis's movie, There Will Be Blood, at the end, where he explains American capitalism, right, to Paul Dano. He goes, I have a straw, and I drink all your milkshake, and I've drunk it up. And that's what's happening right now. They're drinking all of our milkshake. It's naked corruption by the oligarchy, where the White House, first and foremost, Donald Trump lied. It's not going to cost $200 million to renovate the White House ballroom. Renovate. Sorry. See, the corporate media got me. F that. He's not renovating shit. He tore it down, which was a lie. And now it's going to cost $350 million. And they released some of the donors, all billionaires and corporations. And like we said before, Nick, corporations, much like what they did in Nazi Germany, they laid out the red carpet for fascism because, hey, why let a genocide get in the way of the profit? And by the way, some of those industrialists were later tried as war criminals in Nuremberg, but I digressed. So now you know that this is a quid pro quo administration. The White House is for sale. It's a personal ATM for Donald Trump. And so this penis palace with the bunker, who else had a bunker? Hitler did. People are forgetting, right? I want to ask you all, who spends over $300 million in a massive renovation in a house they plan on leaving?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That I really want people to say. So you got the corruption angle, you got the fact that there's open bribes, you have the fact that CBS bribed Donald Trump to get the merger with Skydance. You have the fact that ABC gave money to Donald Trump and threw George Stephanopoulos under the bus, even though he's factually correct about Donald Trump raping E. Jean Carroll. You have YouTube. It's another one from last month. People forgot. Settled with Donald Trump, gave him $24.5 million because they deplatformed him for, using the platform to incite a violent insurrection. Donald Trump, as of this month, has received at least $90 million in bribe payoffs from ABC, CBS, CNN. And I think if you add YouTube, it's about almost $100 million. So he is profiting. The oligarchy is getting money as the government is shut down, as food stamps are about to run out, Nick, in September. They can fund it. They choose not to. They can fund the hundreds of thousands of government employees. I'm in Virginia, right? There's lines around food banks here, folks. These are educated, qualified, intelligent, like good workers who are not being paid by the government. So now they're lining up at food banks. Food banks are saying, we are a stopgap measure. Like, we don't have the capacity to feed Americans. Once food stamps run out and there's $42 million that's gone, people are going to starve. Now, Nick and Shane, this is before the big beautiful bill kicks in and the permanent tax cuts for the rich are paid by $1 trillion cuts to Medicaid. All right. We still haven't even talked about that. That's happening in 2026. As all this is happening, Nick and Shane, who did Donald Trump pardon? CZ, a money launderer who helped terrorism and drug trafficking and sex trafficking, because he is the business partner of World Liberty Financial, the company that the Trump set up, right? Binance and World Liberty Financial, which has gotten Donald Trump and his family $5 billion in the ongoing crypto grift Ponzi scheme, which one day, it's just a matter of when, this is going to blow up. This is all going to crash. And now you have this administration promoting the first pro-crypto legislation, the Genius Act, deregulating. I'm old enough to remember, Shane, when Jimmy Carter had to sell his peanut farm. So this is what's happening. When you talk about the oligarchy, I think there has to be a story at the center of all of this is as they gut us, as they said they would in Project 2025, as they dismantle the government, as they purge loyalists, as they purge people who are loyal to the Constitution and replace them with MAGA loyalists, the grift doesn't stop. There's always a grift. They're drinking all of our milkshake as they're crushing us. The rich are getting richer, and it ain't the poor getting poorer. Everybody's getting poor. Sorry for my TED Talk.
Yeah, as
No,
we talk about
everybody's
privatization.
poor.
Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Yeah, everybody's getting poor. And actually, I'll let you take over, Shane, for a second, or take over after this. Waj, I want to have you on a Palin talk on Banner and Backbone,
please,
because we
please.
talk about this stuff. We talk about technofascism and the oligarchy a lot. And I think we'd have a really good, deep dive, fascinating conversation into that. So love to invite you on for that, for Banner and Backbone.
That'd be great.
I think you should come on for a crypto episode. I think that would be because I'm about to go on a very short crypto rant because you mentioned CZ. Well, here's the thing. Like you said, this guy, he designed this entire crypto market, and you have the SEC coming out and straight up saying that they're going to loosen restrictions on crypto.
Yep.
I wrote about WLFI a month and a half before all of that took place. It's one of my best published articles, the Trump crypto scam. I wrote about
drop a link, Shane, once you're done.
Yeah, I'll
drop a link in the chat, and I'll add it in.
I'll get it when I'm done talking and share it. And it's like one of those things, like it was my first deep dive I ever did. And it's early on, and I'm like, okay, what's the grift, right? And it's when I started to see the whole crypto thing, and the crypto is core in this, right? It's like the thing that no one talks about because they're violating our civil rights. They're breaking people's ribs in the street. People are getting killed in ICE detention centers. It's very easy to lose the crypto in the weeds, but it's also the mechanism they're going to use to funnel money out of Social Security, to funnel money out of all of these things. It's how they're going to truly steal our tax dollars by investing federal tax dollars into crypto in this crypto whatever treasury thing they're trying to do. And why do you need this guy who created this market that was used for child trafficking and drug trafficking and all these things? Why? Because he designed it. He's the architect of laundering money through crypto. If you want anybody to help you steal trillions of dollars from the United States, the people of the United States, you want this guy because he did it. And not only did he pardon him, what's crazy is he had actually already served his 4 months. This dude did 4 months. Just to be very clear, he did 4 months in jail. That's like nothing. I mean, it's like, and I'm sure it was a cushy jail. I'm sure he had a couch and, a big old flat screen TV, plenty of walking privileges. Like white collar crime in general is so lenient in this country. But why was it important that he was pardoned? Because he can now go back into business. Now companies can hire him. Now he can do things. He can go back into the private sector and build these mechanisms for Trump and his kids, Don and Eric. Guess what they did? They started American Bitcoin. What the hell is that? They're trying to undermine the dollar. They're trying to do these things. All of these companies were started within months of the election. WLFI, the acquisition of WLFI, all of that can be tied to literally months, weeks after he won the election. Like they held off until they were certain they were going to do it. And then the Trump Trust went crazy in regards to crypto. It's like, it's absolutely so clear where we're sitting in regards to what crypto is. And if we're going to talk about privatization, we have to talk about how crypto is the vehicle the Broligarchy created. They've been working, it's their brainchild. And not only did they, the whole pump and dump thing, right? Convincing a 20-year-old that Dogecoin is the future, and then getting them all to put their whole allowance into it, and then selling it is one thing. Okay. Like, you've got those like 35-year-old pump and dump millionaires. They're not the problem. It's the guys who are building a shadow economy that's somewhere around, probably around $8 trillion of money that has just disappeared from other markets and is just floating, right? We don't know where
once
it
the
is.
bubble bursts, folks, once the bubble bursts, this is what I want people to think about. I know it's a very confusing, but just think about all financial grifts and collapses in U.S. history, right? Let's go back to 2008. I was old enough. I remember I lived through it. What were we told? We didn't cause it. We weren't Wall Street. We weren't the ones who were selling these bullshit, mortgage securities, wrapping them up and making them look better than they were, right? Once it started collapsing, what were we told? We got to bail it out. They're too big to fail. And now when you have the US government and billionaires and presidents all wrapped up in this crypto grift, it's a Ponzi scheme. Eventually it's going to burst. You know what's going to happen, Shane and Nick? Once it collapses, they're going to say what, Nick? What are they going to say? It's too big to fail.
Too big.
And guess who's going to have to bail it out?
Us. Again, it's going to be the American population that bails out billionaires again, because they like money more than anything else. Like you say, Waj, the real religion in America and the real driving force in America isn't white supremacy. It's greed. It's green. It's power of money. And that money is crypto. And if you also, I put up in the corner was the Reuters article that Waj dropped in the chat, is for the Trump crypto grift and how they're making stupid amounts of fucking money. You know what we really need? We need a bailout for citizens. I'm actively talking about the idea of reparations for citizens.
100%.
I think it's time we start actively talking about reparations for slavery, actively talking about reparations for modern slavery and work slavery and indentured servitude, basically, because I don't know what else to call it when everything that you are supposed to survive on, your basic needs and your basic values, all are tied to a job. And if you don't have that job because, AI now took it over and they just fired 15,000 people or whatever bullshit from Amazon again.
35,000.
I think it was 30. Yeah. They said it was possibly 14, but it could be 30. And then the number came out and I believe it ended up being, did you say 35?
Yeah, 30 to 35. Let me double check and we'll fact check for you. So I think it's definitely 30 plus. And then UPS yesterday just announced it's firing more than Amazon, nearly 40.
Yeah, like the economy is collapsing. They're not reporting on it, and they're purposely keeping the government shut down so systems fail. That's, I think, what like the privatization effort is. Eventually, they want to make little mini tech fiefdoms. And how do you do that? Is you buy the military and you rent it out from the dictator to have your little private armies, mercenary forces that are owned by dictators and not by the populace. That's why I brought up the Timothy Mellon one. So I want to get I put this into the zeitgeist and I want your thoughts on it. This is just the first step. And I want to see how you feel on this. It's the first step of $130 million bribe towards the military. The next step will be larger and more because we have decided that it's not important to call people on bullshit, and we're normalizing funding the military through private means. What do you think the next step might be now that we're, say, allowing nuclear weapons testing to happen again? And how do you think that may tie in?
What?
Oh yeah, Trump yesterday announced
last
night that he is going to authorize nuclear weapons testing again, which is ending the Cold War moratorium that we signed with Russia.
Of a long-standing treaty.
Yes, since 1992 was the last time we tested a nuclear weapon by George H.W. Bush, and since then there's been a moratorium. And we've got 2 nuclear subs, or a nuclear sub off our coast, nuclear planes off of Japan's coast and our allies' coast from Russia. Do you think they are prepping to because I know they've infiltrated in terms of like the Task Force 201 or Detachment 201, which is the executive innovation detachment with tech oligarchs who are innovating and fucking up our army and turning it into an AI force. Do you think this is part of that next step in purchasing the military and turning it into a mercenary force so that we can no longer be a democracy, but little tech fiefdoms with servitude?
Everything is for sale.
Yeah.
And that's one thing you need to realize with Donald Trump and this current administration is that at the end of the day, the religion is power, white supremacy, and capitalism. Everything is for sale. The stock that went up on election night, and if you all paid attention to it, was private prisons. Private prison stock went up. Furthermore, when we talked about the big beautiful bill, it's very important. The big beautiful bill, the signature legislation. What happened? Permanent tax cuts for the rich. It will make the rest of us poor. It comes with the gutting. You fund it by gutting Medicaid, right? I want you all to remember that this is just what Mitt Romney and the conservative philosophy was on steroids. Mitt Romney in 2012, which in part sunk his election chances, and it was Mother Jones, I think David Corn, who got the video where he was just talking to donors. Remember that casually and just talking about 45. I think the number was like 40+% of Americans. They just see us as moochers. They see us as these like servile, like type of like less than evolved humans who just like live on the teat of welfare, right? But nonetheless, CZ gets bailed out, right? Nonetheless, Milei of Argentina gets a $40 billion bailout. Nonetheless, all these banks that brought about the 2008 friggin' economic recession get bailed out. So they believe this world, this economy is for them. And they believe in now a type of eugenics, going back to the Brolargarchy and RFK, the use of stuff like productive people versus non-productive people, right? And they believe that humanity, folks, this is what's really important. And because Shane and Nick, you know this because you studied the Brolargarchy, and I always try to remind people this because they're telling you the supervillain plot. You have Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, David Sachs, and the billionaires. If you listen to them, they tell you the supervillain plot. They're done with Earth. Earth is cooked. They're also done with most of humanity. Instead, they see themselves as the saviors of the future of humanity. And they think that, okay, democracy is not compatible with capitalism. That's the philosophy of their white trash podunk philosopher, Curtis Yarvin, who says that we should have these techno fiefdoms where the rest of the world is broken up into these, feudal systems. Each system, each parcel, if you will, run by a techno lord. Say a David Sachs gets this, a Peter Thiel gets this. They come together. They select a king who's subservient to them. The workers will be dumb. They'll be poor. They'll work until they die. And then we will replace them with AI robots. Furthermore, to your point, Nick, when it came to private military forces, that was the outdated model because they're like, all right, climate change is inevitable. And instead of using our wealth to help people, what they're creating, folks, are bunkers. They're buying islands right now. I'm not making this up, right? So the end game is not to rehabilitate Earth. The end game is to terraform. That's why they're looking at space shuttles. We're going to leave back humanity, which is toast, and then we're going to take the chosen people who will be bred from our seed, I'm not making this shit up, the chosen race, right? Because they're all into eugenics, and we will repopulate humanity on Mars. Until then, though, we will live in bunkers, and they used to think about paramilitary forces to protect them while the masses came and said, give us food and bread, right? But then they're like, what? What happens if the private military forces rebel against us? Douglas Rushkoff talked about it in his book where he was invited by billionaires to an island, and they said, when it comes to the great collapse of society, how do we protect ourselves, and how do we ensure that the private military forces that we hire to protect us and kill the masses don't turn on us? Like he wrote about it. This was like 10 years ago. Now they want to replace them with robots.
Yes.
And then and real quick, they want to collapse the currency. Someone said this in the chat. They want the economy to collapse. They want the dollar to collapse, and they want to replace it with crypto, which, by the way, they control and they've invested in. So the end game is three end games. If you have to see it, you could see with the Trump administration. The Brolarchy end game with Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, right? The white supremacist capitalism. The white Christian nationalist endgame with Russell Vought, the co-author of Project 2025, and the white nationalist endgame with Stephen Miller. Throughout it all, there's a grift. Sorry for my rant.
No,
No,
it's
that's
okay.
great.
I gotta
Shane,
go
I'm
in a
going to
minute.
let you talk so that
Yeah.
you can go.
Okay, so one, you just covered everything really well. So what I want to cover is very simple, but it's how fucking stupid they are and how their plan will never work.
Yes.
So first thing, I'm just gonna say, because I'm a space nerd, okay? And when you come on Palin Talk, you're gonna love the last 30 minutes because it's the best part of the show, because we leave Earth and we go to space. And we talk about some sort of really cool space topic. But here's the thing about Mars. They can all go to Mars if they would like. That's up to them. That's fine. But they're all going to die from cancer because the magnetic field of Mars is very weak and it can't divert the solar radiation. So go to Mars, dipshits. You're all going to
Go
get
now.
cancer and die.
Go now to
now.
Mars.
Go.
We encourage it. Go to
Terraform
Mars.
Please.
You're not going to be able to terraform Mars because guess what? Like you said, these guys are lost in sci-fi. They think that these concepts from sci-fi are actually possible. The reality is that I talked about this yesterday with AI. The AI bubble is going to pop. Like, they're pushing something and they think that it's about money. They think if they throw enough money at something, it will happen. There is Nick, as someone who did this is his job as an engineer who built these systems. He can attest to the fact that no amount of money can make better code. No amount of money can make something go faster. We talk about R&D all the time. Time is what is required. They can build all the energy infrastructure they want. They have not gotten as far as they should have been with the existing energy infrastructure that they have right now. So what does that tell us? It means that they're going to fail. Why are we seeing NVIDIA stock go up again and again? Because as things get worse, I saw yesterday they freaking broke all the records in NVIDIA again because they're desperate. They're desperate. They're throwing more and more money at this bubble because they see the writing on the wall and they're ignorant and they're stupid, and money has gotten them everything they've ever wanted so far. So why would money not work now? Well, the truth is everything has a ceiling. And the ceiling of money exists. No amount of money can outpace human development. And every type of advancement has a ceiling. We're approaching, I think, the ceiling of tech with AI. I think there's a pause point where we have to stop and be like, all right, well, we need to innovate again. We need that 50 years of R&D to get to that next step. We've seen this with tech. Building the internet took a long time. It took a long time but they think that it's just going to happen. Like the military has spent millions, probably billions at this point, on drones. They're trying to do an autonomous navy. The autonomous navy, it's failing. Like all of our military R&D that they've privatized, it fails. They are losing. They tried to build a rail gun, and guess what? They failed. $500 million. They couldn't do it. You know who did? China. You know what China does really, really, really well? R&D. They put hundreds and thousands of scientists on something, and they're on state money, and they take their time and they do it until it works. That's not what we do in America. So to your point, to everyone who's like, yes, they want Elysium. They want to go to Mars and die from, solar radiation, because they don't know shit about what they want. They just know that, like, ooh, Curtis Yarvin had a good idea. Like, let's do that. Like, it's not going to work, and I kind of like take some degree of peace in that they are so stupid. Like, they're going to fuck everything up trying to get there. They will. There's no denying that if we don't at some point intervene in the near future, they will irreversibly fuck up a lot of shit. And it's going to take human innovation to undo it.
We have to intervene now. We have to intervene now.
Yeah,
we have to intervene now. And I'm going to cut you off there, Shane, because Waj has to drop.
Yeah, sorry.
Here in a second. No, totally good. I'm going to cut you off because I want to give Waj a second to sell himself and tell everybody where he can find him. He's got like 900 kids he has to feed. They're always around. So Waj, take it away. Sell yourself. Tell people where they can find you, how they can support your work.
I will, inshallah, never sell myself, and I'm a child of immigrants, so it's tough for me to promote myself. But I'm on the Left Hook, Substack. Nick has joined us before. Shane would love to get you on as well.
Absolutely.
It's a community where we don't both sides fascism and we don't both sides genocide, and we try to be honest and keep you informed with some levity and also hope. And I'll end on a point where what Shane said is you have to invest in humanity. We've got, right? And look at these folks, these enemies, these supervillains. What do they say about empathy? They see it as a weakness. Charlie Kirk said it's a weakness. Elon Musk said it's a weakness, right? But without empathy in human beings, it ain't gonna work, folks. And the Pharaoh, much like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, thought he would live forever. And we all know what happened to the Pharaoh. So there's more of us than there are of them. But democracy is a contact sport. It's 10 toes down, folks. Everyone has a role to play. And at the very least, you can be informed. So if you can, please support Nick. Please support Shane. Please support me. Everything is free on the Left Hook. I'm a terrible capitalist. So at least become a free subscriber. If you have a few dollars, give it to Nick and Shane. Then if you have a few bucks more, like Nick said, I have 800 kids and 3 cats. But if not, at the very least, be informed. Be a joyful warrior. It's going to be a long walk, folks. We need each other. Don't give up. Invest in hope. And please, oh, please don't be a fascist.
Thank you so much, Waj.
Thanks, all. Thanks, Nick. Thanks,
so
Shane.
Waj,
Nice
it was nice to meet you.
Nice to have you on, and we'll see you again soon. Shane, I know you got to drop here, but sell yourself real quick for everybody in the audience again.
Yeah, totally.
Let them know where they can find you.
I'm going to go really fast. My name is Shane. I'm the founder of the Firebrand Project. I'm a good friend of Nick. We do Pal and Talk every Monday. Make sure you come check us out there. I'm a polemist, political critic, essayist. I do daily reports on news, critical analysis of daily events. And I talk a lot of shit because there's a lot of shit to talk about. So if you want to support me and Nick and Waj, please consider, always being a paid subscriber is the best way to help. Being a free subscriber is the best way to help. Becoming a paid subscriber is icing on the cake. It helps us keep doing what we're doing. I'm 50 in bestsellers. We've been chilling on the bestseller list all week. That's thanks to paid subscribers. So thank you guys so much for driving us up there. And if you want to keep getting us to the top of that bestseller list, that's a great way to help me out. I'm literally about to go do another live with Opinionated Ogre. So if you're here, look for my name to pop right back up, and you can come join us there in like 5 minutes. With that said, make sure you support Banner and Backbone. Make sure you support Nick. Make sure you support Waj. And if you have some time, come support me as well. I appreciate each and every one of you. It was so nice to meet all of these new folks in the chat today. And I very much appreciate you guys. And I will see you all soon. Burn bright, resist, and I will see you later. Bye,
Thanks, brother. Thanks, brother. I'll see you later. And I'll sell myself here too is finally come support me here at Sick of This Shit Publications. Help me build this larger so that we can have productions like this, maybe even or even better. We're working on some updates here. I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff done in the background to help increase value for everyone across the board. So please come join me, free, paid, whatever you got for Sick of This Shit Publications. I'm doing a flash sale for 80% off for your first year's paid sub from today and tomorrow. So if you get it by the end of October, you've got 80% off on Sick of This Shit Publications for your first year. As well, if you want to support alternative outside of Substack, I do have a Ko-Fi subscription that I'm working on getting set up and managing more. It is I accept tips, and I have a $10 subscription there if you want to support my work through a secondary method. I appreciate every single one of you for coming. This has been an incredible show, incredible morning. We love having Waj on. And again, finally, go back and support Waj if you get the chance. If you've got the funds, go be a paid sub with him. Just like us, we never paywall anything. We don't hide stuff. Knowledge is power, and access to knowledge is even more power. So go out there and be powerful. Go watch Waj, go watch Shane, share, restack, smash that heart. And when I come out with the show notes afterwards, share and smash the heart. Get this message out there. Get Waj out there for everybody who doesn't know him. Get Shane out there. Get me out there. We're pro-democracy voices, and we want to do something for America. Come help us. We don't hide behind paywalls. Like I said, knowledge is power, and access to knowledge is even more power. So like we always do, everybody, let's stop being sick of this shit, and let's start doing this shit. I'll see you all tomorrow for another show and on Banner and Backbone and some other stuff I'll be doing. So have a great day.